All right. Welcome, everyone. Today, we are talking about using the holidays to create memories that stick. And oh my gosh, do I want that? Because I don't get to see my kids as much because they're off doing their amazing lives.
Mhm.
So the holidays can feel like there's some high stakes, and that I really want our memories to be special. I want to enjoy them. I don't want to be stressed. I don't want to have high expectations that then aren't met. And so then I'm disappointed. Like there's just a lot around this conversation today. And so we have brought on Jessica Smartt, who is an amazing mom. Her books and everything is about how we make moments count. And so she is a homeschooling mom of three, and she's raising her family on a family compound in North Carolina. But she's got a book called Come On Home. And it really is about how do we create this home that people want to come to. She also is the author of Memory Making Mom, and she's been on our podcast before talking about that. And really, the concept there is this whole idea around that strong families aren't built overnight or through perfection, which we all know that by this point in life. Strong families are built day to day through intentional moments, through honest conversations, and through deep, lasting connections. And so today we're going to dive into how do we harness the holidays for creating these special moments and also these intentional moments where we can really harness that intentionality to create special moments. So, welcome, Jessica. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you. I am glad to be here. Thank y'all for having me.
All right. So, around the holidays, especially I think with older kids who we may not see as much, and maybe it's just because they're teenagers and they're gone all the time with their friends as well. But we're wanting to create memories that stick. So, how do we honor kind of those time honored traditions that we've always done while also still kind of creating and allowing room for new traditions?
Yeah, that's the $1,000,000 question at this juncture of parenting. And I think about that verse in the Bible about like fitting the wine into the old wineskins. And
Mm.
also the
Mhm.
phrase that often comes to my head is so I wrote my first book is Memory Making Mom. And I think I said in that book, no one likes a memory making monster, which is like, it
Mhm.
has to be, sit down, we're doing this. So, yeah, there's definitely an element of that. And I mean, y'all could probably tell me because I think you're a couple steps ahead of me. I know that has to be very challenging for a mom who's given so much and
Mhm.
poured out so much. And then you're like, but you're leaving. Like, it's very, very hard. And so there's a lot of heart work probably that has to happen and dying to yourself and your dreams and finding your worth not in your kids. That's very hard. So there's a lot of personal stuff. But with that all said, I had a couple thoughts about that. I mean, certainly, like you want to shift and you want to pivot and add new traditions when you can. And we can kind of get into like some ideas that I have for like older kid traditions and things we've done in my family of origin, which is super close, as you said, and kind of watching how my mom has kind of shifted through things. But at the same time, it did come to me when I was brainstorming about this the teenage years and young adult years are really like self-centered, and I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing. Like you're learning through who you are, you
Mhm.
have a lot of outlets and activities and all that, but I do think there's an element of, while we are offering this beautiful place that they want to come on home to kind of like draw them back to the home, and in a way, especially if you have a healthy strong back and forth with them, to call them to die to their selves in ways like, so maybe that looks like if it's an older child and you have younger kids, like, yeah, I get it, seeing Santa isn't your favorite thing, or fill in the blank tradition is not your favorite thing, but like, look how much your little sibling loves it, and we're all just gonna like be engaged and go along for the ride for their sake, because ultimately, as they're like adults and parents, that's the attitude that's required in life. It's not about you,
Mhm.
especially when you have little kids. So we're training them in how to be the adults we see them being and know they can be.
Mm.
So there's a part of it that it's okay to be like, hey, I know it's not your favorite thing, or even if it's you, like maybe there's something you just absolutely love, like it's a Christmas brunch, or you love everybody to go to the candlelight service. Now, obviously, when they get married and legitimately have other activities, that's can be hard. And I'm not saying to be inflexible, but I think it's also okay to say, hey guys, this just means so much to me. I would love if you all, just for my sake, would fill in the blank. I think that's okay. Like, it's okay for
Mm-hmm.
them, because I look back and I was like, I was the most self centered person that there ever was.
Mm-hmm.
There's like long blocks of time where I'm like, did I ever call my mom even one time? Like, what was our relationship
Mhm.
like? I have no recollection. And she took it all in stride, which is great. So that was kind of my first point. When you said you have a lot of listeners like middle school age, high school age, that's kind of the era that can be of like bad attitudes. And I'm just going to be grumpy because that's what I do. That's my profession. Part
Mm-hmm.
of it is not letting yourself get too rattled. But again, back to my other point, I don't think in the home we're called to tolerate chronic grumpiness, not because it's, oh, hurting my feelings, but like that's not what the Lord wants us to be. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
his word that is like, be cheerful, be kind, be considerate.
Mhm.
And so that chronic, I call it out. I'd be like, hey, you're not getting any presents. Now, maybe not that, but like not letting that
Mm-hmm.
pervade the entire house so that everybody's
Mhm.
like affected by it. And again, still giving them grace and they're working all their hormones out and all that. But
Yes.
Mhm.
there was a lot there, a lot of
Yeah.
different things, but that's my first take.
Well, I think just to comment on a few things you said, I think it is good for moms to say, there are some things that are important to me as the
Mm.
Christmas navigator, Christmas maker around here. And to just be mindful as a mom to use that trump card, like this is important to me, to use it sparingly
Mhm.
because we can't have everything be important to us. We have to pick our and then pick a number like 3 things or this many hours of time or this many days that I'm going to ask of you. We balance that, and especially as they are getting older and having other commitments outside of our family, maybe it's to another family or maybe it's to work, or those are the kind of the biggies that they
Or to their friends they have to hang out with
yes,
every
to their
5 seconds.
yeah, I'm not as sympathetic to either of those. But I mean, yes, they feel like that's important to be able to balance between saying, this is important to me, and also recognizing they do have some things that are newly important to them. And then in the naming of the attitude, I think we also, as a highly female home, I have 4 daughters, I do name hormones often. Like I
Mhm.
say, I am observing this behavior. It doesn't feel like it's your normal every day. It's especially impacting the rest of the group right now. I'm wondering if hormones could be part of this because that's part of them becoming self-aware as young women
Mhm.
is recognizing, oh, I do have to pay attention to these fluctuations because it is not acceptable to just act out of them
Mhm.
willy-nilly however I choose. If I'm going to be in a mood like this, I need to figure out how to self-regulate. And so I appreciated both of those pointing outs that we can call things out too, but to do it in a way that feels helpful.
So, Jessica, you talk about this idea of creating a nest. And I think this is a great concept as we really do go into the holidays. So, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my mom did such a good job of this in just creating a really welcoming, comfortable home. She has the gift of it feels like very beautiful, but also very cozy and inviting, and like the kind of place where you can just take your shoes off and tuck your feet up and sit there with your cup of coffee and hang out. And that's a skill, but she has just done an amazing job of that. So it comes out through a lot of different ways of all the senses, honestly, of like, what you can smell and see and taste and touch and all of that, like just really kind of investing our gifts in our home. And so this, in some ways, that's like a really boring basic sentence, but I actually think it's quite countercultural because society
Mm.
is pulling us to work on ourselves and our resumes and our activities and our friends and our gym and all this stuff. And I'm not saying that's bad at all, but I would love for women to look at like, how can I actually pour my time, not give my leftover to my home, but really like pour myself into creating, not so it's picture perfect and like exactly what I want, but just that it's a cozy place to hang out. And so there's a
Mhm.
million iterations of what that could look like depending on your certain giftings and surroundings. And so maybe you're a like cinnamon roll shaped in a Christmas tree shape kind of a person, or maybe you're like a really very organized, simple, clean, or God's just given us all sewing, crafting. I'm not all of those things, but really just like encouraging moms to kind of look around and say, how can I use my time to make this place a place that people actually want to be? That's the bottom line, right? Come on home. It has to be a place that people actually want to be. So I kind of just go into details in the book of like, just here's some different things that you could, in different ways that could look. And even talking to the people in your home and saying like, what do you love about our home? What would you change? What's your favorite thing? Having your antenna up. So for me this week, I am cleaning out my attic and I hate it and it's the worst. But I keep reminding myself, like, this is good work. I'm caring for my home. I'm caring for the things God has given me. I'm trying to be a good steward. And it is already blessing my family. I can see that it is. So that's one that's sometimes hard to implement, but I do think it's important.
Yeah, and I really like that idea, and I think it's especially important with as we get into those teenage years, those young adult years, of really asking them, what is it that you love coming home to? What is important to you? And it may surprise us. I mean, I literally the other day was shocked by something my son said. When we bought this house, there's a gate and it has this howling coyote, and I hate the howling coyote. I just don't like it. I want to replace it with something more modern and cool. And so I said, that coyote's out of here. And he's like, what? No, mom, you know, if you take that, I'm not coming home because that is like so important to me. And it was like, the howling coyote, like that is really the camp you're going to die on. He's like, yes. And I said, all right, then the howling coyote is staying. And I think it's super ugly, but because you love it, it's staying. So, but it is I guess, to the point of we don't know sometimes what they're experiencing as this is home to me. And I don't want you changing that because that makes me feel whatever they feel inside about home because of that. And it's the howling coyote. So what is your howling coyote? I think that's a good question that we can ask. And I'd love to hear, Jessica, what are some things that you do in your home?
Yeah, I cook all the time. I really don't actually love it, but my family is so hungry and loves food so much. I feel like I'm constantly like thinking, how can I make and my son has food allergies, so it's like cooking with your hands behind your back. But I would say I am working really hard in that area because I love my family, and that is the only reason I'm doing it. You know, as far as like natural giftings, I do feel like I run the home well and I'm aware of what's happening and like time and space and checking in on people. I would say I'm organized in an overview sense. If you looked at my drawers, you'd be like, you're not an organized person, but kind of have a good pulse on how everybody's doing and keeping the ship with homeschooling. You kind of have to be like, you know, to some extent. So I would say that is too. And of course, the book, The Memory Making Mom, I'm always like, I'm not the memory making mom, but I do come up with some really good ideas every once in a while. I don't do all of them, but we have some really special traditions just weekly and annually. And I hope that's what my kids love and look back to.
What's one of your favorites that you do weekly?
So we do family dinner or family breakfast, and we have had to really fight for that. So I have 16, 14, and 11. And this is like, I told my mom the other day, I feel like this is the busiest we will ever be. I mean, you guys can, maybe I'm wrong, but I just like people need rides and they're all doing 100 different things. And so we have to be like very firm about family dinner and even saying no to other things. And like, we're all going to sit together. It's not always a big, giant candlelit production, but it's usually I've like tried to make something that they enjoy, maybe make a dessert, and we just sit and hang out. So that's not like a very like creative answer, but I do feel like that is slowly building lots of memories and it's an anchor in our week and in our time together.
Yeah, no, that's like a giant obstacle when you're in that season of life.
Yeah. And I like that you said it's once a week. We aspire to more and more is good. But if we really have to say no and protect that time, let's not overplan so that we can't be successful. Like once a week is possible and is manageable if we're fighting all of these other schedules. And kids' schedules, yes, for sure. When you have that combination of driving still with high school sports on the week. So I feel like when my kids were younger, we had a lot of games on Saturdays. But as my kids get
Yes.
older, our weeknights are getting heavier. So if you
Mhm.
still have one that you're still driving to practice, but then you have to go to all the high school stuff too, it is crazy town.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, or even getting creative with like a family breakfast, even if it's before school. I had a friend who did that.
Mhm.
It was like, we are all going to sit here 6:45 to 7:30. We're going to hang out, make something, so just being innovative about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as we look at the holidays and look at how do we create success, it's flexibility. I really see that as a theme in both what you're saying, but also around the holidays. Like, how can we be flexible and create what we can when we can. So if that's
Mhm.
family dessert, if that's doing a
Mhm.
holiday, a little, maybe you have Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving, but then you have something else because everyone can be there on
Mhm.
Saturday, but not Thursday. And so maybe you do another like fun, fall football and then soup day, and you create something special around that, a turkey bowl. So I think flexibility is the name of the game. That's
Mhm.
that's one of the things I'm saying right now for the holidays. Everybody, all of us.
Yeah, I will say with older kids, what we found is if we do that 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock time, like if we're trying to get, besides just our family, but like a lot of kids who are in that 19 to 23-year-old gap where they have lives apart from us, that if we say we're going to do something from 2 to 5, they're like, oh, thank goodness, because then I can go do my thing after. But then the
Hmm.
adults, I mean, they're adults too, but the old adults who don't have other plans after, we can all
Mhm.
stay and
Uh-huh.
socialize. But then we've had that chunk of time where everybody's there and then
Mm.
they can go, and they're usually awake by 2 o'clock too.
Yeah.
So,
That's funny. Yeah, I've seen my mom. I'm really just inspired watching her. We all live nearby and my brother as well. But that means that we're gone on Christmas with our in laws, all of us. So
Mm.
they've been kind of by themselves a lot of Christmases. But what she did is she pivots. And on New Year's Eve, we do like Christmas again. So all
mhm.
the grandkids come and
Mm.
we do like a sleepover at her house. It's nuts. And no one gets any sleep. And it's,
Mm.
you feel like death the next morning. But we do like Christmas Eve, Christmas morning, on New Year's Eve, New Year's morning. And I just love that she kind of, okay, well, we'll come up with a new thing. And it's really
Mhm.
actually super cool. The kids really love it. And that does
Mhm.
mean they're sitting alone sometimes on Christmas Eve and Christmas. But
Yeah.
I think she's grateful we're all in town most of the time.
Mhm.
So she's like, I'll let this one go.
That's yeah, flexibility. We're back to that. That's so
Mhm.
great. And I
Exactly.
think it's a challenge. And there's grief, and we have to face that because I'm sure your
Mhm.
mom had to go through that. But
For sure.
it's good. That's really a good reminder. Okay, Jessica, expectations. I think this leads really well into this conversation about expectations. How do we deal with expectations around the holidays?
I mean, I think it's like so much of motherhood, right? Is you hold them, but you hold them loosely. And that
Mhm.
is a difficult dance to do. But I don't think it's the answer to just throw a big fit and kind of die to the whole thing. I think we do still say, as we talked about earlier, I would really love to do this. This is important to me. But if it doesn't happen, yeah, it's kind of a you and God thing, really, more than your family. And so, just like in marriage or friendship, we can't put so much onto others that we're expecting them. Essentially, the word is idolatry, really, because we're putting them in a position of God to satisfy us and our longings, and they have to. If there's ever a have to, I don't think that's from the Lord, right? Like, I have to have this, and we have to have this. Like, I think just accepting the new gift that God is giving you, and maybe it involves opening your doors for other people or pivoting. And I'm really the worst at this because I actually can be somewhat inflexible. But there's always a silver lining because that is how God works. And He
Mm.
works through things that are disappointments. He works through the darkness and the feeling discouraged times, and He brings good things into it. So approaching it in an expectation of, Lord, what good new thing are you going to do here? And
Mm.
really, we run the risk of robbing ourselves of a new super cool thing that he might be
Mhm.
doing by holding on too
Mhm.
loosely to what our own expectations are.
Mm.
God might be writing a whole new thing in a way that's going to bless not only you, but people in your circle. and others. So it is so much harder to do it than say it. So I don't want to minimize that. It's got to be really hard. But we know what we know is God is good. He is with us. He is the only thing we're serving that is fulfilling. He's the only one that we can put our hopes and expectations in, and he will hold them and show up, deliver for us, right? He won't disappoint us. We know that. So I don't know. That's not very practical, but
No, it's good though. It's good. And we have to settle those things, honestly, to get to the practical. If we don't settle those things in our own heart, we're going to show up wonky and weird and have all this baggage. It's true. And so then we just like act, or we act bitter or resentful, and that's not going to go over when we get to the practical.
And I do wonder about asking ourselves, what is the spirit of this holiday? If we're thinking about Thanksgiving and Christmas, what are we celebrating here? And am I embodying that spirit right now of gratitude at Thanksgiving, or that God is with us and that he loved us beyond measure? And that is what we remember at Christmas. How do I act that out given my actual circumstances this year? Because every year, even if the traditions look the same, our family dynamics are different from year to year, and we're dealing with different circumstances outside of the holiday every year that are different. So every year we have to ask, how am I embodying the good news that God is with us in the way that I'm responding to people, or in the way that I'm planning, or in the way that I'm spending, or whatever the question is? I think that helps me recenter of, okay, we're going back to purpose. Going back to purpose.
Can I have a homeschool minute, a homeschool mom minute? So there's this little book that we have read at Christmas that's a like grade school fiction, Christian fiction. It's called The Light at Turn Rock. I can send you guys the link if you want to put it in your notes or share with your readers. But it's like the most simple story. And I love how the Lord uses like fiction, again, to be a nerd out moment, to sometimes teach me such profound things. But a boy and his aunt essentially get stuck in a lighthouse because of someone's unkindness for Christmas. And she initially, they're very sad. They're not going to do all their stuff, and they can't go to church. But she immediately is like, this is for the Lord. I'm going to clean this place until it shines. We can make ready for our Savior right here. That's what it's about. And so her attitude of like, I'm going to make this space, I'm going to cook up a special thing with whatever we can scrounge around in this lighthouse. I'm going to make this sparkle and shine. We're going to turn on our light and shine for the King. And so to your point, I almost wonder if during the times of disappointment, that's almost when we can offer more worship to our Lord, because it's not about me and what I'm getting out of this, but it's about giving a gift to the one that came for us. Like there's more opportunity there for actually growing and showing character.
Whoa, that preaches, Jessica. That gave me the chills. That preaches. I'm getting that book. That's so beautiful.
You're going to read it and be like, this is weird and lame. Why did she recommend that?
No, I'm not, because I'm going to clean the lighthouse, Jessica. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
So we clean for Jesus. The beginning of Advent, that is actually a tradition. Y'all, we're cleaning for Jesus. We're not getting anything else out. We're cleaning for Jesus. Maybe it's just a way that an excuse to get them to clean, but it's also a tradition.
A manipulation tool. Maybe. But if it's effective, it reminds me of the Christmas Carol, the little drummer boy, about what we just bring our offering, whatever it is. And so the same goes for our home. Our home may not be the way we want it to be, right? Like when you ask your kids what room would they like remodeled. Well, I already know the answer to what room I would like remodeled. So we have these excuses in our head that our home can't be the place because fill in the blank. It's not this yet. But to say, no, but this is what I have right now. This is what I have this year. And next year is not promised. And again, this is a little dark, but what if this was my last Christmas? How would I want my kids to remember it? How would I want my husband to remember it? Let's celebrate in a way that's worth remembering.
Amen. You're dropping some good bombs on this one, Alex. Okay, so Jessica, what are some fun ideas for older kids around the holidays? Let's get practical. We've settled the heart stuff. Let's get practical.
Absolutely. That's what I love. So again, mine are 16, 14, 11. I'll tell you kind of where we're living now. And then I have a couple ideas for that young adult age of things that I feel like my parents did really well. So ice skating is a huge win with older kids, even some younger kids, but they love that. That's
Mhm.
like the one thing they want to do every year. So I love the idea that if you have kids that would kind of be a good sport for this, like a mother-daughter Christmas tea is a beautiful tradition. Inviting a couple of friends and their moms, I just have rarely seen that go wrong. I think it can take a lot of different directions. It can be as low key or as fancy as you want, but that's a fun one. And then the gingerbread decorating house, that's a win for a lot of ages.
Mhm.
So also hosting their friends for a party, that's,
Mhm.
a win for you and for them. And again, we've
Mhm.
done fancy to white elephant and they run around doing yard games. Like you can make
Mhm.
that into a lot of different things. We also, when we were young adults, one thing that we loved to do was a DIY gift exchange. It was one of those that because of the time and mental work that went into it, it really like bonded you together because you had to be
Mhm.
thinking for months ahead of like, what am I going to
Mhm.
make that they're going to like? And like, it was there was always a lot of like talking it up and or down, depending on what your skill set was. But that was really fun. And you can start that
Mhm.
probably high school, even younger if you have crafty kids. But my mom and dad did it. And there were some super cool things that came out of that. So that was a win. But food is always going to be my answer. I think that is a way, whether they act like they appreciate it or not. And my mom always would simmer cinnamon sticks and orange peels on the stove,
Mhm.
clove probably in there too. And like, again, that took her 2 seconds. It's
Mhm.
not like we made a big thing out of it, but that
Mhm.
smell, like I'll do it in our home and it reminds me of my mom. And so just again, like little touches of creating things. I also think older kids can get into music in a way that younger
Mhm.
kids can't. So one of our favorite traditions is the Andrew Peterson Behold the Lamb, which we attend in person. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but he kind of tells the
Mm.
story of the Bible through music. So it's in person shows, but you can also listen online, like stream it. And it would make a great night of like invite your friends, we'll have hot chocolate and watch. Anybody can step into it and kind of get the story. He just through song tells the story of the Bible. When I was in college, we attended the Messiah in downtown Pittsburgh. And I absolutely love that. Like I had never heard it. And so
Mhm.
kind of like leaning into more of that like cultured, refined kind because they're getting older. Like even like good Christmas art, there's tons of that. And just like kind of putting it up or putting it on the TV screensaver kind of deal. Like
Mhm.
those are little things that are in the background, that can be still quite formative.
That's really fun just to get, I think, people's ideas going for the holidays. But a couple things you said that have been interesting to me as my kids have gotten older. I always ask, because we have 4 kids. So I always ask, what is the one thing you want to do for Christmas or for the holidays? And the gingerbread contest is always one. They do it in pairs. They go buy their own stuff, they come up with their ideas, and then Instagram judges. The Instagram people judging, not us, because we wouldn't
There
probably
you go.
vote fairly. Anyway, they love it. They choose it every year. And then another thing that we do with one of my sons is we do a mom and sons Christmas party. And it's a way for all their high school friends to get together, but also for the moms to see each other
Mhm.
again, because now that they're older, we don't get to see each other as much. They're not in high school playing football anymore. So, anyway, those couple of things have been such anchors, and maybe they won't last
Mhm.
forever, but they've been really fun around this time.
Yeah. I love that, mom and sons. We have, yeah, a group of friends whose kids all graduated the same year. So both boys and girls and the parents try to do a Christmas thing here in the neighborhood just because, again, yeah, we want to
Mhm.
see each other, but we also want to see each
Mhm.
other's kids. And it's a way for us
Mhm.
to see all
Hmm.
the kids that are away. It's fun. No, I love that.
Mhm.
My kids are pretty open to the art thing. And I think if you are wanting to reinforce, again, not manipulate, but reinforce the Christmas story as far as remember this is why we celebrate Christmas and not do it in an overtly preachy way. I think
Mm.
introducing the arts into your family, going to a concert.
Mhm.
We have a few big cathedrals in Denver that put on traditional Christmas music, and I love taking people to those because the songs are amazing. They're singing about the birth of Christ, and you're in an inspirational environment, and yet it feels a little bit removed in that it is this arts experience that you're having. So I encourage that.
Yeah, it's really great. I think that goes well into because these are activities that we can do as a family, or it can be we include friends. And so, how do you harness the holidays to build sibling relationships, Jessica?
Yeah, so for siblings, I have a couple of fun ideas. One is, and this is like not super original, but I highly recommend doing the Secret Santa. It's a big hit and it works for any age. So mixing up the names and kind of trying to do like acts of kindness throughout Advent. And then they get something, or, depending on, even if it's like, I think we did it over a vacation one time. It was like a week. Maybe this was college or young when we were just married. And so you had someone's name over the time of being together, and it was like, made their bed or bring them a little gift or whatever. But that was just so fun. And I think that works well with any age. And really, again, it's one of those things that makes you think about the person, makes you think about how to be creatively loving to them. And it's bonding them like over time. So we always did that growing up. We still did, but definitely big plug for the Secret Santa. My kids, even now, do a like camp out sleepover when they decorate the tree. So they build a big fort and sleep under the tree. And maybe when they get older, that's not as big a hit. It's still going strong here. And then, yeah, another like great activity is, so it's called candy caning someone's yard. And we kind of do like a secret, like pick a family that we feel like could use some love. And we'll find like maybe a gift card or something like that and jab the candy canes, kind of like the flamingo thing. But the kids love it. Like it is like such a rush because it's kind of like a toilet papering, but only better, not as naughty. And so we'll pull up and they have to sneak out and jam them all in and then climb back in the van and run away and like ring the doorbell. It's this whole thing. So I learned that from another mom who actually tries to do it on St. Nicholas Day, which is December 6th, because, he was obviously one that was very kind and generous and looking out for people who were going through hard times. But even if we can't do it on December 6th, we just try to fit it in at some point. And that's always been really meaningful, not just to us, but to our kids and, obviously to the family that is the recipient. So yeah, that's a fun one.
So cute. Those are such cute ideas. What about games? Do you have any games that you love?
Everybody has the white elephant, dirty Santa. Like there's that one that I think is obviously a huge hit. Kids love musical chairs. So whenever we do our Christmas party with cousins or whatever, we'll do that to Christmas music. You can twist if you have a group of kids and have the guys be the chairs and the girls playing. And that's really fun. Like they put their leg up. They love that. I mean, so that's a good one for groups of kids. Again, I feel like a homeschool mom nerd, but I love puzzles with my whole heart. And we have this Christmas puzzle that is such a part of our like embedded into the fabric of our Christmas. And we'll do it several times, but it's just always out on the table. And you'd be surprised, like all ages, they'll sit in, even like kids that you wouldn't think would be into it. It's like they'll end up like sitting there for an hour. So I'm a big puzzle person.
Yeah, I know. You're either a puzzle person or you're not. I'm in the opposite camp, Jessica, but I fully respect that you are in the camp.
Yeah. It is surprising when you put it out to see who gravitates and said they would never, ever. And then you're like, oh,
True.
interesting. Okay. Okay. And you just don't make a big thing of it. But it's a good side by side. We had one winter when we had an exchange student and her English was still pretty limited. It was a great side by side activity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's good. I would also say, along with puzzles, for the non-puzzle people, put out tactile things because I will go over and I'll play with something tactile. So you can get those metal tactile, like building things or other like squishy balls, or you could have a whole like center around the puzzle so that you can be doing those while the other people puzzle. So just a little tip there.
And art supplies. Yeah.
Yeah, and art supplies, yeah, because I would do that. Give me glitter stickers. I'll do glitter stickers, Alex. Okay, so just last words as we are rolling into the holidays, wanting to make special moments. We want people to want to come home. What's your final charge to us?
I guess this is in the vein of what we shared earlier, but I think step back, like big picture, it can feel super stressful, but we've spent a lot of years pouring into these children. First of all, just deep breath, not so much as riding on this. At the same time, it can be a really special time. And so I would encourage people with kids in the home to say no to other outside things during Advent, to say yes to some really good things. You only know what those are. Like, there are certainly non negotiables we've got to do, but there are also things that we just cram in that take away from us being able to have that quiet celebration of what the season truly is. And then I would say, secondarily, we all have something that's very difficult. I think Satan, one thing he uses to work against moms is to make us think like, nobody else understands this, or for some reason, I have like a disadvantage or a handicap. Like, there's whatever that thing is, and maybe it's a difficult relationship with a child, or maybe it's a difficult marriage, or maybe somebody's sick, or finances, or maybe you're struggling mentally, or a child who's being really difficult, an estranged relationship. Every single person has a thing that makes the holiday season like hard. And we think I'm the only one. We're not the only one. We all have something that makes us feel like, oh, I wish that this like wasn't this way. And guess what? That's exactly why Jesus came, is because this earth is not perfect. And that's all the more reason to celebrate, because you lost your temper, or you are feeling like a failure, or everyone's not getting along, the sibling fighting. Like, we always think we're like disadvantaged to celebrate well, but that's actually the very reason to celebrate well, because we've made a whole mess of it, and life is hard and it's broken, but he is the light. He's the light of the world. So just not to be discouraged when whatever that hard thing is rears its head and threatens to discourage. You're celebrating well.
That's hope, Jessica. That's beautiful. And wow, if we can just carry that kind of hope into the holidays, we are going to have a different experience. I love it. Thank you so much. This has been really helpful.